Hey Yogi Edgies, thanks for watching the replay. This hopefully won't be too very long. Hey, how's it going? Silly Anderson, I always forget your name, Chaz. Hi everybody. I guess I'll turn on, oh no, my computer is actually pretty bright. Hi, Arlen. I'm glad you're here, Arlen. Oh, let me turn off my sound. So, I don't plan to be scoping, very long, only because I feel like I'll get a little bit emotional, but I did not want to, not scope because I feel like this is an important topic to talk about, and it's been on my mind for the last week and a half or two, and hoping that maybe it will help you go through life and make decisions, because I know that if I didn't have people helping me through things, then I would be kind of lost. And actually we talked a lot about struggling through pain and unnecessary pain earlier, if you remember when we were talking about the Yoga Sutras. And so I feel like this is very much about that. So I already can feel tears in my eyes, so sorry if it's hard to understand the words coming out of my mouth, but as you may already have guessed by the title, I made a tough decision today, and I'm not going to go to Costa Rica. So, I made that decision. I think I would have a less hard time scoping naked than I would, talking about really raw decisions, you know? And I want to tell you why, but apparently, my emotions might get the best of me. So why did I decide not to go to Costa Rica? I'm sure that the yogi pharmacist would really like to know, because I emailed her the first tonight, and it has a lot of reasons, actually. So I won a challenge. What's in Costa Rica? Okay, sorry. By the way, if you're new here, this might not make very much sense, but I will try my best to make the lesson really make sense to everybody. So, background of what was going on in Costa Rica. I did a month-long yoga challenge on Periscope. It was the second Periscope challenge they ever did. And every single day we learned mantras and mudras and yoga poses. Hi, Gretchen. Oh gosh, Gretchen. So you cried, this morning? I'm crying now. So apparently it's just a crying day. Anyways, so I did this challenge and I won first place in the challenge, and what the challenge consisted of is that I won a discount on a yoga retreat in Costa Rica. So for those of you who have no idea what I was talking about at Costa Rica, that's why. Now, when I did the challenge, I am a very big planner. Obviously, you know this about me, being a perfectionist in recovery. So when I started the challenge, I had researched all the information about the retreat, and I understood the days that it was covering, and I checked the prices and stuff, and so it was $850 for a 5-day retreat. You cry when you have too much bourbon. I cry when I have alcohol too, and that is one reason that I don't drink, because it just doesn't end up a good situation. Thank you for making me laugh. So as I did the challenge, it was a really moving challenge for me. It really helped me grow a lot, and I'm so glad I did it, even regardless if I was going to win or not. However, if you know me, then you probably know that if I do something, I do it for a very large reason. And so obviously I was very determined to win the challenge, and I did. However, like, once I did win the challenge, it was already, like, the day I had to submit to my clients their schedule for February. And so I had a really hard time at that point in time deciding, like, well, what should I do? How should I schedule these girls? Because I don't even know if I won or not, and I had a feeling I would win, but I really wasn't sure, and so then I had to decide, well, it was $500 for the first place. Second place winner, I think, got $250 off, I believe. So I had to make a decision about scheduling, and I literally crammed like a week of classes into well, you missed the beginning, Gretchen. I made a really hard decision today not to go. So, just so you know. Yeah, so, and I had already announced that I was going last week, so that's why I'm crying. So I made my schedule, and I literally had to shove like 16 hours worth of training into all of my other days. Thank you. To get it to work, so I had that week off. And I didn't even know if I was going to win or not, and I just did it. And I had to tell my girls, like, I think I'm going to be gone that week. And so I did that, and that was the first kind of, like, tough thing for me to make a decision. Okay, no problem. So I made the decision to change up their schedule and kind of, like, leave them hanging for a week, even though, they pay me for, like, 4 classes or so a month. So they got all of their training, and I felt good about that. And so I was good to go on that field. But that way you kind of know what was going through my head on this process so that you can learn with my learning. And then I found out that I did win, and I was super excited. And, like, I immediately started getting to planning. I don't even know who the second place person was, though. That's the weirdest thing. I've never even heard the name. I never saw them on Periscope or Twitter or Instagram. So I wish I could give it to the second place. But I tried finding them. I can't even find the username. It's like it didn't exist. And so I don't know. I doubt it. I really doubt it at this point. But I won other stuff. So the thing is that it wouldn't even make sense to give it, because I'm still really excited about that challenge, because I am getting like a whole box of organic food from I forget what it was. I'll have to tell you when I get that package. I will go to the post office soon. And I won a piece of jewelry from Peerless Charm. She was in my scope earlier, actually, so she's makes jewelry, so I won a piece of jewelry, and I won $65 gift card to LVR Fashion, which I think is probably the biggest thing that I'm grateful for, because I'm switching to this no-waste lifestyle slowly but surely, and they are a very, like, eco-friendly yoga clothing option, so I won. I am, like, so excited and happy still. So nothing has taken away from that. However, I've never really been to, like, a yoga class officially. I've seen one given at my old dance studio, but I never took it. But I've never been to a yoga class. I don't think. I really don't think I've been to one. I've done online yoga classes, but that's it. Everything else I've just learned by research. I just research everything on the internet. I consider myself a self-taught yogi. And most of it also, remember that I was a gymnast and a cheerleader and a dancer my whole life, so they're like very similar stretches and things like that. So all of this words and these ideas, this is all so new to me. I'm getting away from the subject. So anyways, I was really excited that I had won, and I even accommodated my schedule to it, and then when it came down to it and they announced it, you can catch ringworm from used mats. I have heard that, and I always No worries. Bye, Gretchen. Thank you for helping cheer me up. That's why I always clean my mats. And there's like essential oils also for that reason that you can use. Anyways, so I was excited to go, and whenever I found out that I won, I immediately like started planning and getting in touch with everyone I needed to figure out like how to do this. I even invited my boyfriend because he's the one that actually has made me so much a traveler. I never used to travel as much as I do until he and I were together. And so obviously I would ask him to go with me. And so we were both excited and we were both wanting to go. And he, asked me how much it would be, and I told him I was getting details. And so I feel bad because I had to go back and forth emailing the retreat center asking how much it would be for him to go. So I hate to feel like I wasted their time, but I needed the information to make an educated decision. And so when I announced that I was going to the Costa Rica yoga retreat, I was definitely under the impression of one price that I had like researched long ago. And so that was kind of a bad decision. I didn't realize we're very even. I'm not really a person that likes somebody to pay for me unless I'm able to support them in other ways, and there's not really anything that I can support him in, so there's no reason for him to pay for me for my things. And so I had made the mistake of writing down a price long ago, and I found out that it was the early bird discount, and that it makes a lot of sense that a person winning a challenge wasn't going to get the early bird discount because it was like, so close to the day. So it was a little bit more than what I had anticipated, and I think that was probably whenever my heart kind of sunk and I realized it was really not a good idea for me to go. But I still was set on going, and I even, I asked for any help that anyone wanted to give, anyone wanted to donate towards me going there. And what I noticed was I received a lot of emotional support as far as everyone telling me that it was really exciting and that everyone was super excited to see me go. And I even had the opportunity to teach a workshop when I was there. And so it was like really awesome. Like I was really pumped up, but everyone made a pretty good comment about like, well, why should we support you going here, for example. And Arlen, was very much someone that had mentioned this idea, and he was helping me come up with ideas of fundraising for my trip and everything. And so after everyone was asking me these questions, it really made me start to think. And like, obviously, I scope and teach you everything that I learn, including this lesson right now. Like, I'm on here and I want to actually cry, but instead I decided I think I should share it with you to help you learn and think about some of this stuff, and also to help me kind of process it. So everyone kept asking, well, if we donate and send you to this trip, like, what is it going to do for your community? And here's one thing, is that because I'm self-taught and because I learn yoga online, I don't have a yoga community, like, literally, like, around me. I've actually recently tried finding close by yoga studios, and there's really not an official yoga place within 30 minutes of me. So you're asking for support for your bar tab? I don't know, maybe if you learn some party tricks, you might get some support for your bar tab. And so, my community per se isn't actually like my physical address. Like, that's not what I consider my community. And so this actually went along with something that you were saying, Arlen, and I never really explained it, but it was probably one reason why I went ghost last week, because I was very deep in thought and really taking very serious consideration of what everyone has spoken to me about. And so what I realized is that my community is online. Like you guys are my community. Periscope is my yoga community. Instagram is really like my home base yoga community. So if I were to ask for support and donations of any sort and be able to give back to my AKA community, it would be my Instagram or Periscope or my blog community. I would love to be involved locally, but I just don't have that opportunity right now. There's just not any yoga people that close. I can find some that are like 45 minutes away, but obviously it's still going to be like a distant community. It's going to be harder for me to get to, and etc., etc. I will stop talking about that for right now, and I'll get back to that another day. So I had to decide, if I go on this trip, how is it going to help my community? So that would be like you, or how would it help people that are on Instagram, or how would it help those that are on my blog? And I started brainstorming this information and really thinking hard about how it was going to help. There was definitely going to be some help that it would provide, because I would take everything I learned about physical practice and meditation, and I would relay that to you. I would relay that information to you, and just like I'm doing right now, give you any tips that I can think of that really would help you grow. Yeah. However, when I really was trying to think of like, if I had a bullet point, like how it was going to help and what it was going to give and grow by going on the trip, my list was like very short. And I'm really sad and disappointed in that exact sentence. And what really makes me sad, and it may even make me cry as I explain it, I left the pole community, the pole dance fitness community, because of that exact sentence that you just said. I left it. I have a huge following over there, but I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. It's not what it's about, and I left all of the followers that I did have because that was not what life is about. It's not about wearing skimpy clothes, and I don't understand the whole, like, sex-controlled internet. I don't get it. I understand that some of you may leave. I understand that some of my best followers may not, want to hear this. But, yeah, and why is the money there? Why are we supporting those who are just degrading themselves? And by degrading, I mean, like, suffering inside, because it's a very deep concern for me, because I've been there for 5 years. I've been there. I've degraded myself. Men are typically pigs. I have hope that there is a way to turn around from that. However, we can't turn around from that until both sides work together. And so what I'm saying by that is, I don't wear skimpy clothes anymore. Like, at least I don't try to. I try to wear full supported sports bras and shorts, and unfortunately, based on my body type, sometimes they end up skimpy even though I don't want them to be. So let me just put that straight. But anyways, I don't wear the clothes that I wear for the, like, sexual attention. That's not... Yeah, and I'm saying not all men are like that. However, there is a higher tendency that I get that approach from men. And you know what? Women, there are plenty of women out there that have the same issue. So, I am not saying that women are not guilty of this at all. Anyways, so, but why are we supporting those who are just growing our imbalance in, like, our sexist minds? It isn't about the clothes, it's about the mindset. I agree. And sometimes if somebody has a certain type of mindset, then the clothes will continue that mindset versus sometimes if you wear a different type of clothes, it will end that mindset. So I noticed that I can't really wear shorts in front of you guys anymore because if I do, then I just get booty comments, and I get it. It makes sense, but it's like my fault for offering that in front of you when I know that it's only natural for the brain, the mind, the ego to just go straight for that. You know what I mean? So I have to start covering up more, and I wish I didn't have to, and at the beach I don't. But online, it just makes sense. It's just not working out in that way. Anyways, but I just have a big problem with how you can just open your boobs on Periscope or take a shower. I hear that's a new thing. I saw somebody listed doing that earlier today. Or like, I don't know, a couple of my girls do some things on the internet that I am just like, whoa, way too deep on that level, and they get paid so much money for that, and they're not, I'm sorry, but they're not helping anybody. It's not doing any good. I am not a firm believer in saying like sex is like horrible and bad for you. Obviously there is a balance in everything. It just, we're like going way berserk on sex. I don't get it. And that's what I'm trying to say, Bruiser, is that I'm not blaming guys for watching, and that's why I was mentioning that we have to take equal responsibility for this. How did we get on this topic? Okay, I'm going to continue on that, and it'll circle around to what I was talking about earlier, but I guess you opened a Pandora's box earlier, because I have not brought in this subject, but it is a very, very, very important subject to me, and hence why I completely, I went like cold turkey on pole fitness agendas and went to the yoga side because I couldn't stand it anymore. As business, and then put on bikinis. Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that we are just as responsible for preventing this chaos as you guys are responsible for not watching it. So women and men. I've been in like pole dancer scopes on here, mostly because I wanted to know like what they're doing on Periscope. And if they were actually doing fitness and teaching people, then I was like, yeah, I'm going to promote you. And then whenever I realized that they're not doing anything useful, usually they don't even talk. They're just, I don't know. It's just like a strip club, and don't get me started on that. Exactly. And we're avoiding that responsibility. And so my only way that I was able to take a stance, like I took responsibility over that, is that I stopped pole dancing for other people. My YouTube is pretty much about to be deleted. I have thousands of followers. It's about to be gone. Because that's just me continuing the issue. I make this much money off of it, and I'm causing a huge giant issue because of it. So it's about to be deleted. I don't do it anymore. Like, I haven't made videos. And whenever I do teach, I teach the fitness, but apparently I gotta start teaching in like a moo-moo, because people don't understand the fitness side. They only see like what I'm wearing, and the motions are just too like connected now with other bad stuff. So that's why I really only do like no replays of those, so that for some of you who are like my edgies and you get it and you know like that I'm a fit person because of it, then I share it with you, and like I respect you and share it with you for that reason. But I cannot, and that wouldn't even work. That would end up getting like more hits and more perverted things. Trust me. I've danced because that's how I express my emotions. I've danced in leggings, like high top socks, and like a sweater before. And I have received the most disgusting comments you would ever imagine because I was in those clothes. So, it's like I can't even express myself without running into an issue of getting that comment. Now, I'm not going to just stop dancing in my life, period, because of that. Instead, I'm just wise in when I share it and how I share it. Yeah, it's nuts. So, yeah, let's go back. Yeah, exactly. I went to Catholic school my whole life, too. Yeah, and so I think that a lot of people have that. So somehow we got onto the topic of women making money on Periscope by overly sharing their sexual nature, and that was not exactly what this was about. So instead, let's get back to what I was saying, that I asked for help. Okay, I asked for help. I asked my Periscope community, and I asked my blog community for help getting to Costa Rica. And I had pure intentions, like I wanted to go to learn and to be able to share that experience and grow as a teacher by going on that trip. And so that was my intentions. I really wish it would have weighed out, and that would have been the case. Hi! And I even put forth my efforts of finding a fundraiser, a good cause, so a cause to actually go coincide with that fundraiser for my learning. So 80% of the funds I was raising was going to go to the saving the orangutans and discouraging the destruction of forests for palm oil. And you know what? I didn't get any tips whatsoever. And that's okay. I get it. It's like, I don't tip people unless there's a reason. And so it made it very clear to me that it wasn't standing out as a good reason for those who appreciate my teachings to help support me. And so that made me question things a lot. And it really made me go into like a deep thought process. And so for those of you who are on my scopes all the time, you know that last week I didn't scope. I just stopped. Yeah, well, and that's why I was appreciative of any dollar bill that anyone could send my way to help me help share and help you grow also. I'm in Florida. And so I got that. And yes, it was a very short timeline to, get some funds together. And so whenever I had first heard about the retreat, I had already told Crystal I couldn't go because I'm in so much debt from my previous learning experience and my previous attempt to help others and help them better themselves. So I ran a pole fitness studio for 2 years. 2 years. You're living the good life there. And thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I'm going to get back to that. And it has a lot to do with my decision, actually. I'm really glad you said that, Bruiser. Bruiser, is that your name? And are you new here? Because I don't recognize your name, but you're really good at comments tonight. How about the retreat? Did they ask you back another time? I was just going to be a participant, and then happened to find out that Esme couldn't go anymore, and she was supposed to be the meditation leader, and so I had volunteered to teach my monkey splits. Chicagoans deserve a trip to that's where they're from. That's where the most everyone else that was going on the retreat, that's where they're from. Bruiser, they're from Chicago. That's hilarious that you said that. So I was just a participant, and I had volunteered to teach my workshop, my Monkey Splits Gone Bananas Challenge workshop, so that there was at least another voice being heard, and I know that I have a lot to share. So that they didn't ask me back because I wasn't really ever invited as a teacher per se, but I would really like to go to this place. Vita Asana looks very amazing, and they seem to be really doing great things there, very eco-friendly and self-sustainable. So I was really looking forward to seeing their ways, because that's the way of life that I'm really switching over to. However, by me going there, it was going to make it less sustainable for my life. Oh man, I know. I've been getting booted all day. I'm surprised it hasn't cut out yet. I'm really shocked, actually. So anyways, after I realized that, I hadn't given a good enough reason to be supported by my community, I was really trying to think of something to write up and ask others in my community. And so Arlen, as I was thinking of it, I was like, I don't even feel like I should be asking businesses in my community because I'm not really that active in this community. Instead, that's why I was asking Periscope, because I'm very active in Periscope, and I was asking Instagram and my blog because that's where I'm active. That's the people who are benefiting from my being. And so that's how I planned to write up the proposal of supporting this mission of mine. And as I was trying to do it, I really was struggling finding enough reasons. Yes, I know that's what we're doing right now. I thought this was going to be quick. That never happens. I apologize for anyone that's on my scope right now. It never is quick. 30 minutes is the minimum scope on Box Edge. So good night. Bye. So I couldn't come up with a long enough list. And so part of me did realize that it could have been my perfectionism kicking in and my self-doubt thinking, I wasn't enough or stuff like that. And so I had to really take that week to figure out was it my self-doubt that was feeling that way, or was it truly not the right time for me? Because I felt this calling to go. I really felt like I was meant to go on this trip. I was feeling it inside. And the more and more I thought about it, I kept thinking, well, I feel like I should go. I really do. And it didn't even make sense logically, which is normally how I run my life, with my logic, because I have $15,000 of credit cards that I still have to pay from me helping women make themselves feel better about themselves, that I was left in the dirt. And instead I'm thinking about spending more money, and people are not even really supporting that concept. So it started to become clear to me that this is not the right time. Right now, I need to clear those credit cards. It's just invisible chains in a prison of money that I just need to be rid of. And I understand that I learned a lot today. A lot of scopes today helped me as far as remembering that money isn't really anything. However, fake money also isn't anything. So me buying stuff, buying plane tickets, buying hotel rooms, buying yoga retreats with a credit card is no more or no less real. I don't know what I'm trying to say as far as sentence wise. I shouldn't be buying stuff with that money because it's just going to cause me pain in the long run. So instead, I need to learn how to live within my means. And if people are supportive and have jobs for me to go on trips, then that is when I should go. I do not need to go when it will be just going on fake money that will just end up making me feel worse and more depressed later on. You started a community center for youth. There was no support till we put it out there. And you had told me about that, and you got $1 million grant. See, I'm horrible with paperwork and grant stuff, and I am not good with that type of thing. I am very bad at actually asking for help. So it's really shocking I even ask y'all for tips, because I hate asking for help. I'm the last one to ask somebody for help. And that's actually what I'm trying to learn how to do. I'm trying to learn how to ask for help and know that I am able to help in return. And so ultimately, my decision came down to this trip would have been like a vacation and not as much a learning experience. I really wanted to see Costa Rica. My eyeballs and my feet wanted to be in Costa Rica. And my heart wants to learn yoga from so many people. It wasn't easy. We got support big time from the people. Yeah. And so I think, Arlen, what will happen, I think that will come. I feel that's in my future. I know it is. I have to be patient, though, and I'm not a very patient person. I am and I'm not. When it comes to things that I want and desire, I've grown to be impatient. When it comes to being patient, like with people, I'm like the most patient. So I believe that as I grow and learn and keep sharing with you, you know, the sand is like black though down there. It's totally different. But I believe that I'm missing the point. I was missing that I have so much to share with you already right now. And it's about growing right now and within my means. And as we grow, and as I find something that really does truly have an impact on the community, as you put it so well, I know that's when all of you who want to like take a stance and like make a small difference, I know that's when I will get the support, when it's meant to be. And by not getting the support this time, it helped. One thing that did shock me though, and so this is where the lesson of the day kicks in, so I have no idea if anyone will even get this far in the replay, but for the 4 of you who are here, this is the whole purpose of me scoping this. Okay, so the lesson is that there must be another exactly. The lesson is that I learned as I contemplated this situation, people, well, how do I want to word this? I would say there's a couple of takeaways that I got from this. My first takeaway is that you really shouldn't be running your life outside your means. Like, you can learn to appreciate everything within your means, and by doing that, more things come your way. Like, you're living within your means will slowly not feel like a cell, it'll feel like life. And by doing that, then other good things will come your way and it will just grow without you realizing. But if you try to force your way through that, then you are going to not end up happy. Like, if you keep buying stuff that you don't not deserve, like monetary means, like my biggest example is credit cards. So if I wanted to go to Costa Rica, I didn't have $800 cash to buy a trip to Costa Rica. Instead, I was going to put it on a credit card, which in turn was going to give me quite a lot of stress over the next year or so, trying to find ways to pay that off on top of everything else that I'm already trying to pay off. And instead, I could have just been happy where I was. It's a comfort zone. Yeah, and so it's weird, but I almost feel like you should learn to be comfortable where you are and not necessarily always look for what's more to come. And it's hard to explain that because I'm not saying like just be whatever about your life. Like, I think you should want more, but I don't think that some of us understand how to outweigh the pains later versus the pains now. So like, the pains now might be me not going to Costa Rica, and that sucks. However, the pains later were going to be way worse because I would have actually ended up with a lot of stress over years, possibly, from using this money that I didn't have, versus finding ways to appreciate my life, how it is right now, in ways that I can like learn and do stuff with what I have, with what I currently have, and accepting that if there was a reason for me to go certain places, that it would come into my life. Like somebody would have just been like, I'll buy her plane tickets. You respectfully disagree. Course, it contains more info than allowed here. I understand, Arlen, and I almost disagree with myself in a certain way, but as far as me going on this trip, I really, in my very like deepest part of my soul, I couldn't justify it. So that's what I mean. And I hope that that makes sense. I could not justify putting debt onto myself because I know that it puts stress on me. If I was able to release that stress, then I could justify it. But I don't actually understand how anyone could buy stuff with money that they don't have and not get stressed out over that. So that's what I mean, at least. The second lesson that I learned is that people like to see you spend your money. People like live vicariously through you, and in the most shocking manners. Like those who I thought, I do get what you're saying, so I hope that you decide to make a plan that scares you. Yes, and yes, Arlen, I agree that I would like to be scared. What you mean, like, yes, and I'm getting to that probably next. Yes, and that's the thing, though, is I'm very discomforted right now. I actually have found in my life the times that I have been able to become so discomforted that I walked away from things. I actually grew more than whenever I would have said yes to things. And so it's like almost like a step 3. Like step 1 is like being afraid. Step 2 is like being courageous and saying yes to something. And then what I'm saying that I have found in my life, step 3, is then being able to say no, because your courage could take you a little past your boundaries, and instead learn to say no and be so courageous that you accept life as it's like meant to be. This is really hard for me to describe because it's one of those things that doesn't quite make sense in my brain, so I can't really teach it because I'm still processing it. But like it took a lot in me to say I was going to go to Costa Rica. Okay, take a couple days off, find an outcome you want, and then a couple days and make a plan. Yeah, and that's exactly. Oh, yes. You know what? It is bruised in the back. It still hurts. It still hurts in the back. It doesn't look bad, but I keep touching it every so often, and I'm like, ow, why does my ear hurt so bad? Yes, but Arlen, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So like, that's exactly what's happening is I said yes, I was courageous and said, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to spend this money, even though it doesn't make any sense. And I was going to go and go to Costa Rica. But then what happened was I realized I didn't need to go to Costa Rica for me to, you know, did you get drain bromage? I hope not. That wood landed like on my head. It hurt pretty bad. Sorry, I had to plug my phone in, of course. Let's see if I can move the computer here. Okay. And so what I'm saying is that what I realized is that I didn't have to go to Costa Rica for me to actually get out of it what I was wanting. And that a lot of the parts of the Costa Rica trip were just desire, not actually like a need in my soul. And so that's why I do plan to make a plan. Now, not a very like set in stone plan, because I have learned over time that that just does not work. Life just takes control no matter what. It's going to do what it needs to do. But instead, I did realize that that trip was not meant to be. It was meant to be awarded to me, and it was meant to be for me to want to go and to research a lot. And then it was meant for me to not go. Without need, it does make it hard to want to do. Right. And so that's the thing, is that I didn't need it. And that's why I couldn't go. I had to say no. I had to say no because I like Bruiser was saying earlier, I live in Florida. It is paradise. I have so much of what Costa Rica has to offer, right here in my backyard. And so when I talked to my boyfriend about it, hold on. Back on the thing about people wanting to live vicariously through you, one very disheartening thing I learned is that everyone that I do look up to in my personal life that I thought would really give me words of wisdom as I was making this decision, like, they were totally like, do it, go, just spend the money. Idaho is paradise. They were like, yeah, I think you should not miss out on this opportunity, and you should totally go. And even though I told them I was feeling selfish for spending this money that I didn't even actually own to go on such a trip, and my mom, my grandma, my pole clients, like, they were all like gung-ho about it. And like, yeah, tell us how it goes, and I wish I could go, blah, blah, blah. And at first I was like, oh, wow, this is a good decision. Like, I really should be going on this trip. And the weird thing is, even though I kept telling myself that, deep down, I kept thinking, like, why does this not make sense? Like, something doesn't seem like it makes sense there, but maybe I'm just tricking myself. Like, maybe they do know best. Maybe they're right. Maybe this opportunity is going to lead to other things. And maybe I do need to spend this money and go. And I'm not saying that that never happens. I'm not saying that there's not times where you may need to, like, put some stuff on credit and then go for it and know that it's going to benefit in the long run. The problem is that I wasn't seeing that in this situation. I've done that idea before. I enrolled in Shailene Johnson's Smart Success Academy. I never even finished it, but you know what? It was so worth it. I spent a ton of money, and I at first was like, oh, phone was about ready to roast a marshmallow. But in the end, it made me grow so much that it was worth that difference. It made a big change in me that I knew was going to happen, and it did happen. So yeah. So, like, I think, Arlen, maybe you were disagreeing earlier, maybe on that sense. So maybe that will clarify what I mean by this. It's that I couldn't see, like, what is this going to do? What is this going to offer? Like, I'm going to learn a couple of yoga positions. That's not really enough. I'm going to learn how to meditate, but can't I do that from my couch? I'm going to see these beautiful scenes, but can't I do that every weekend? I'm going to meet new people, but can't I do that on Periscope? There was not one thing I could say, like, I had to be in Costa Rica for. I was thinking, oh, well, this will give me a time for silence. I will take the entire week in silence and meditate and find, like, peace inside. Can't I do that in my cottage? I'm, like, living like the Walden book over here. So I couldn't find that. And so people were encouraging me. And I'm, like, so thankful that they have faith in me and that they they see like the positivity that I bring out of situations, but I couldn't rely on them for that decision. And that was really, really hard because I wanted to turn to them. I wanted them to take that burden off of me, and they couldn't, because they were just like, go for it, do it. And then I talked to my boyfriend, and some of you know, like, he's just my best friend. But I see him as like my guru, like in a very, very serious manner. Like, I have learned more from this man than probably anyone else in my life. And when I asked him tonight if he wanted to go, like, I needed to know because I was about to buy a plane ticket. And he just really easily mentioned, you know, I can't this month. Exactly, Arlen. He told me, you know, he had some projects that really needed to be completed, and it wasn't going to fit in with the schedule, and that he knew that if we traveled, he would end up wanting to spend way more than what we budgeted for. He's like, I went to the Philippines for like 2 weeks and spent like $4,000. I don't see how I'm going to go to Costa Rica and spend like $500. So by just him saying that, put a big emphasis on my perspective, because I also realize that I'm like that too. When we go places, I end up wanting to get the food, and I end up wanting to go on the adventure, and I would want to go zip lining, and I would want to end up doing all this stuff that really, like, isn't necessary right now. I think that later on in life, I'll be able to do some of these things, and I think they'll just be like part of the journey. It's not really like, that's kind of just like the icing on the cake. But I realized that that wasn't like the whole point of this trip, and I was so glad that I talked to him, because I was about to go. I really was about to go, and I was about to go with this sour like feeling in my stomach, like not really understanding why I was going, and not really feeling like my soul was wanting to go, and more feeling like my mind, my ego wanted to go to have fun, and because I wanted to see pretty trees. So that's the lesson. Like, sometimes I think we have to learn to distinguish what are our innate desires and what are our just like kind of frivolous wants. And that Tara Brach book that I'm listening to has really been influencing also this decision, because I've been making myself listen to it a lot more than I probably would have, because of this decision that I've been wanting to make. And part of the book that came up on the day that I was really thinking hard about this, you're curious about the depth this situation went to. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? But in the book, she talks about desire, and she does talk about how you don't want to ignore your like desire for food to nourish your body, or sleep to replenish your body, or like water. Oops. Or like shelter, for instance. But when food becomes something because of our emotions, or shelter becomes more like frivolous, like crazy big ass cribs houses, then that's where we have to learn to differentiate. And so, and the thing that really set me off, my boyfriend said, he said, I told him about how if he wasn't going, my plan was to